Again, Agnes has to play as if she belongs to the party, of course, if she belongs to the group of Martin, and she tries to convince Stephen that she is still on his side by putting her medallion that has been popping up in the movie up and down into an orange when they are throwing these fruits towards Stephen and his group. The way these medallions were introduced in the movie is very medieval. I mean, people, of course, didn't have photographs, but to make a marriage, it was kind of normal to send these little medallions out, little portraits, so that people that were sometimes living far away from each other, especially when the marriages were, let's say, arranged by the rich people, by the parents, then they sent these little portraits back and forward, so that the prospective fiancés could basically look at what they were buying. I mean, I should use the word buying because a lot of these marriages had a lot to do with money. We see that Hawkwood has become weak. We saw him already having a cramp just before this, and then he falls off his horse, which normally wouldn't have happened. Of course, this is all introducing his sickness, and later, of course, the fact that he gets the plague.
You bastard! If you hurt Agnes...
Oh, we hurt her day and night, man!
And she loves it!
This was all shot in reality. It was a little bit dangerous, so because we couldn't protect the actors very well on that height, we built all kind of nets around the tower. But of course, they couldn't be visible from. So they had to be a little bit down, and I think it was probably not a very comfortable feeling for the actors, although they were attached to lines, of course. But I think they felt pretty displeased with standing there. So the story now continues, as I said, with the development of the plague narrative. There's in the next scene, Hawkwood gets sick, and we start to realize that the plague is close by. Agnes is trying, I think, or perhaps even believing herself that this love that she describes on the medallion is still true, but I think that we should have doubts about that. Here, Hawkwood is suffering from the plague, and of course, is proven by the boils that are coming up. Now we get an interesting situation where Stephen who is the Renaissance man, and who has, of course, more knowledge about medicine, is telling the old-fashioned doctor, Father George, that he should cut the boils. Interesting enough, he relates to Arab writing at the same time, which probably is something which we don't want to hear at this moment, but true, the Arabs were much more advanced at that time than the Europeans were. And so he is quoting an Arab book, in fact, where it said that the boils should be cut open and not be treated by what Hans Veerman, Father George, here wants to do, or does also, which is bloodletting. That was the theory that at that time that there were bad vapors had come into the blood, and so if you tap blood, if you lost blood by bloodletting, then you would be less sick. In fact, of course, the contrary happened. By bloodletting, people got less blood and they got even weaker. So, the only thing it did is make them die faster. Of course, there was no remedy in bloodletting in any way, and has never been discovered since then. Sometimes these old practices have some reason and can be used, but this one seems to be completely useless and was more to do something in the face of something when in the face of sicknesses where nothing could be done. Here he looks at his Da Vinci book, say a tractate about how to conquer a city, how to besiege a city, and he starts here building his Da Vinci toy. At the same time, we continue our saga of the contamination. The blood from Hawkwood is thrown on the ground, and then the dog is eating the blood, cannot stop it. Stephen realizes that it's dangerous for the dog, but it's already too late. The dog has licked up the blood. The film was edited by Ines Schenkan. Ines Schenkan has been my editor for 4 or 5 years. She also did The Fourth Man and did some television work for me. She was an ex-ballet dancer that switched over after she broke her toe. She switched over to filmmaking and became a film editor, and later became a film director. So I brought her partially to Spain, so she spent some time there, but most of the editing was done in the studios in Amsterdam, with a Dutch sound crew and a Dutch editing crew.
Yes, I know. You'd rather throw me from the walls than give me back to him.
Normally I can tell you a lot about special effects, but there is not much to say in this movie about special effects. There is only later a couple of effects were done in post-production, which was the lightning in the sky in one of the later scenes. And but that's all. For the rest, it's all real, and no digital effects for sure. And it would certainly have helped us if we would have been able to add 20 or say 50, 60 people to the soldiers, because it would certainly have made it a bit more realistic. But the way it was, we didn't have the money to do that. So the critics pointed out, and for good reasons perhaps, that the amount of soldiers that were attacking the castle in general, the group of Stephen and later the group of Arnolfini, seemed very small. And that's true.
Winner takes all.
Wrong. If he wins, he starts married life as a widower.
So he basically threatens her to kill her when she would walk away. And while she puts forward her dogma, which is, whoever survives, I'll take him. So she is quite clear in what she means. She will take the winner, isn't it? The winner takes all, she says. But that means if Hawkwood survives, if Martin would survive and Stephen dies, then she goes with Martin. Here, Hawkwood then finally was as close to die, because, of course, the bloodletting didn't help in any way. Is one of the few shots, basically, that I didn't want the audience to see, I think. Normally I show these things in extenso, but the camera, mercifully, as some people wrote, goes up to the head of Hawkwood. Anyhow, he cuts the boils himself and follows there with that the Arab remedy. I mean, I don't know how loud you can say that nowadays. This is the thing that he constructed, Stephen. I mean, it must be certainly a couple of weeks later, well, but at least days later, because, I mean, he did a very fast job, I must say, but especially because there is a whole construction inside. It is supposed to be kind of a nearly surrealistic scene, isn't it? This kind of thing that crawls forward like a caterpillar or something like that, where we only slowly start to, too slowly perhaps, in my opinion now, slowly start to discover what it all means and what the idea behind Stephen's thinking was. Of course, he has taken this from drawings of Da Vinci, who, as I told before, made drawings of seeds, instruments, seeds, attack machines, etc., that are a little bit similar to this. The reality of the construction, of course, to get these ladders out, as you will see later, is that inside there was a system built that we took from an old fire truck out of Rotterdam that we found and brought to Belmonte, and the ladder that you see coming out of this box of Stephen is in fact a disguised iron fire truck ladder. There was one other problem we had with the scene, and basically, I think the whole scene is a little disappointing. I think it is too long for what's happening, because we should have changed it a little bit when we started to realize what exactly the main problem was. That when we started to work on the scene and the ladder had to come out, and the 15-20 people of the group of Stephen had to walk on the ladder and then would be blown all to pieces, that was suddenly we found out that it was not possible, that you could only have 3 people on the ladder, and nowadays wouldn't be a big problem because we would digitalize them in, of course, and have 3 people on the ladder and then 3 others and all put it together. But that at that time was not possible. So ultimately, when the scene reaches its climax after Martin has saved the day nearly, then you will see only a couple of people, I think it's 2 or 3 at the maximum, included Stephen, that are crawling on that ladder, where you should have seen 15 or 20. And so, but this one of the things that could not be repaired anymore. We had, of course, no money to say, let's do it all over again. This was discovered too late, because they found out that it was too weak and that people would fall down, of course. And that would be including the actors, of course. The character of Agnes is, we discussed, I talked about that a little bit, about actors, about Agnes' character. There has to be something in myself, because that is expressing itself through these kind of characters like Agnes. If you look at Spetters, the character played by Renee Soutendijk, Fientje, or at Showgirls, the character Naomi, played by Elizabeth Berkley, they are all characters that seem to be driven by an instinct of survival. That seems to be the main issue. I mean, and they seem to be willing to walk over dead bodies to get there. It's probably, let's say, this female behavior is probably not so different from any male behavior, but we don't expect it so easily with women. Although, of course, there is not much difference between men and women in the first place, I believe. But I have always felt, let's say, a pleasure in portraying these women in many movies as very strong and having strong convictions, wanting to achieve something. We could say even wanting to achieve something desperately, but willing to go, like Fientje in Spetters or like Nomi in Showgirls, to go anywhere where it's necessary to go, be it with sexuality or any other means, to achieve their goals of gaining power, gaining money, achieving their goal in general. See, if you see them falling here, there's only 2 or 3, and it should be a whole group of people, 15, 20 should have been falling down, and not much of that is unfortunately there. But it does for Martin, of course, when he walks outside, you see that we arranged it very precisely in a way that he stands in front of a burning wheel, one of the wheels of the car that probably blew up, or one of the things that were inside, that is burning behind him like the statue. And now he has this victory, proves, of course, that he is the ruler that is led by God, like many people have thought in the past, wrongly so. And he stands there in front of this burning symbol, which the cardinal sees again, and what for the cardinal, after this victory, might mean that he was still right in following, here is the shot, that we are still following a saint here, that this is the real Saint Martin with this burning halo behind him, and that his fear of the cardinal is, of course, that it is not that he's following a man instead of God. Slowly, the cardinal has been willing to accept the manipulations of Martin, and has been, let's say, degrading his beliefs by identifying God with the statue, but then again with Martin.